Let me take a pause right quick from what I'm creating. Phew. I had another deep purge. Should have hit you out of nowhere. It should have hit you out of nowhere. I know it's probably the transits, my own shit, my everything, whatever. But it'll hit you out of nowhere. Let's give honor to source, of course. Source, of course. A sense of belonging. I wasn't even supposed to say that yet. But anywho. Are they about to come in here? Because if they are, I'm probably gonna go to another room. Where are you going? Let me be patient here. In the meantime, let's give gratitude to the ancestors known and unknown for the highest good of all. Shout out to you. Shout out to y'all that's here. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, boy, when emotions come up, honor them shits. I was gonna do another video on even that too, but I've been noticing the more I distance or keep myself somewhere, I've been noticing one thing. I think they're gonna come in here in one moment. Okay, I had to reposition myself. Y'all bear with me. Kind of gave it away already when I said a sense of belonging. Ooh, I need to go ahead, get myself a new haircut. But it is what it is. It's raw and real here. Sense of belonging. This is definitely gonna hit home for a lot of us, simply because of the current shifts and moments that we're in, you know, wherever you are in your life. I feel like one of the biggest and greatest lesson that has been on my journey, where I know even where I get to a point of, it's almost like no return when it comes to relationships, versions of myself, what I serve, like how what type of role I serve in a connection. And that's on all levels, not just personal, but business and so forth. Where I was getting at it again when I said sense of belonging, I had this over. How does that do that? I had this overwhelming feeling come up like a purge out of nowhere. That shit had hit you. And what I was getting at is like, we have been, being that a lot of us grew up around people so much, in environments where we had to be very responsible early, whether for ourselves, for other people, a lot of things forced upon us. I can relate to it. And in that like, it brings me to a place where, as I get to know myself more, I sometimes don't even want to be connected or like around people. It doesn't matter who it is. That's how much I've come to the awareness and self-awareness of what is belonging to me. And I don't mean like your belongings. And then I start looking at the word like, what am I longing for? Am I longing to be this, or am I trying to find a sense of belonging somewhere? And then how do you do that when you feel like you're not even of this world? There are gonna be so many that can relate to this, and what it brings up is a sense of like the importance of, individuality. Is that there's a deep knowingness and deep acceptance of feeling safe and secure within your body, within yourself. Coming back home is a feeling of sense of like belonging somewhere. A lot of these things that are coming up for me, and it can look different for a lot of people, is in coming back home to myself, there's a lot of fears that can come up for me personally. Like in this pattern that I've learned to isolate, not even, the term isolate comes up, but in more being secluded, you get to know yourself so much more. You sit with yourself, you learn more about yourself. And I honestly feel like this will drive a lot of people over the edge. And I say that because I can see why people will go into like a deep psychosis. I can even see how people go off the edge when it comes to substance abuse. And I connect the dots to a sense of belonging. And I'm gonna break it down on layers because I'm gonna start with just as a darker man, as an indigenous man. One of the toughest battles mentally, emotionally, physically, what has been very detrimental, very trying, is feeling a sense of not just safety, but security and belonging. You're telling me, like, it's like you ask God to create a source, and you're like, I signed up for this shit. And the reason I'm saying starting there is because I want to bring people who don't know that feeling of being what it is to be indigenous to a country or to an environment. I mean, if you're born here of a different, shade, you still are indigenous. Where I'm getting at is that when people dive so deep into learning about their ancestry, when they learn more about who they are, when they start to dive deeper into how so many things can be removed, how so many things can be manipulated and used to create this narrative to make a people or people, even humanity, even I'm gonna get into the puzzle pieces of all this shit. To even convince lighter skin, I'm gonna use the term Caucasian, men that are not in the proximity of, you can call it like, let's say below the poverty level. Their mindset would be the same as a mindset of what they call it, blue collar, white collar, whatever it is, person who has accomplished certain things or however they got it. Their mindset wouldn't be to fear men that are like lighter skin, Caucasian or whatever. Their fear wouldn't be for the darker man to rise up. Because everyone, there's this thing where they want to paint the picture of feeling a sense of everyone who's not of a darker complexity is against each other. And I've noticed, because being in experiences that's far from the truth. Being in certain demographics far from the truth, because I've seen people on so many different demographics who do not look like me, who are on welfare, who are and have to go to the same schools, or what it comes to is how the narrative has been to where you ask yourself, if you as an individual proclaim to have all this history and culture, but yet, how is it that you can portray such behavior or whatever it is to feel like you're worthy or even a sense of belonging? Does that make you feel like you belong? So a lot of what I've noticed, even through the tricks and the manipulation, is how when you look at if you want to call it civil war or segregation or self-hatred amongst people, I ask myself, when you look at the chakra aspect, the chakra system, the root chakra, when's the last time people felt like they belong? Now, getting back to just as a darker man, it doesn't just start from society and an environment. It starts at home. For me, a lot of us have never felt like we belong in our family dynamics. We never felt safe. We never felt secure. There was repeated patterns, consistent instability for some of us, emotionally unavailable, caregivers, which again plays a very part in the root chakra aspect: stability, stableness, surety. And this also reflects also the sacral and the solar plexus, I believe, like creative energy, feeling like, confidence. You can research that if you want to, those who, study those types of things. And I've noticed to where, if I reflect on how much society has truly masked themselves, and how it's considered blasphemy just for you to be who you are, just for you to even think outside of the norm of, let's say, if you grew up in a religious background, how people are so unaware that whatever you see built religiously was first created spiritually. Structural spirituality, control comes in. The way they, the powers that used to be as whatever, how things were structured for control and manipulation and deception, psychological warfare and so forth. And even in that, how can you convince the people to feel like, well, you have convinced the people in the foolery of believing that they belong from whatever power that an individual came to save you from yourself. If that was the case, how is it that you still have your own thoughts, your own everything at the end of the day, and you convince yourself to take it to someone else rather than sitting with it yourself? So that right there has did a number on so many people. That right there in itself has did a number on people. Argue with your mama, because I'm not. This ain't up for debate. I know my experiences to see people have, how these structures were used. When I say pray on your inner child, like your most vulnerable parts of yourself, young, a part of people don't even realize a lot of them do things to feel a sense of belonging, to feel they join the crowd, they join the trend, and that's what you see mostly on social media, the collapse in influence, how people have used what they've learned before anyone influenced them, educated them, or gave them anything. And I'm sure people can say the same for me, to each their own. But one thing that cannot be faked is authenticity and integrity. The one thing I recognize that the world doesn't have, because when you look at a trend and when you don't have the ability to like lead your own life or walk in your own, like be yourself unapologetically, why wouldn't someone want to question if you don't know how to create something for yourself? Or try or attempt to. So the biggest thing I'm realizing that the world has suffered from in the last, 1 or 2 decades, or even for generations, is belonging. When I look at the root cause of a lot of things, especially, again, as a darker man, seeing it at anything that I've learned that I like to attempts to try to better myself, be myself, honor who it is that I am in every aspect. Why is there so much pushback when I'm just trying to find a sense of belonging just like you are? Why is there so much scrutiny or, attack on people just to just naturally know how to be themselves? Aren't we all trying to find a sense of belonging? You're doing it in your own way. So what's the issue with me? What's the issue with the other person? They're trying to find a sense of belonging. What the underlying cause of it is how a lot of people who have masked themselves for so long have developed a false sense of empowerment or individuality. And some of it has nothing to do with it being anyone's fault. It just has a lot to do with a lot of what they grew up in. They never felt like they belonged. They never felt safe, secure. And even the people, again, who didn't grow up in the same demographics, you still built the narrative. You built this character around what you perceive to be integrity, what you perceive to be love and truth and honesty. All from a sense of trying to belong. Feel like you were longing for whatever it was. And then when you got to that place and built upon it, you had the opportunity. It's how can anybody tell someone to leave a land or somewhere that they're not even like, that their ancestors have no connection to convince them that they don't belong somewhere? It's interesting. And so I realize a lot of these things are rooted in deep abandonment. When you have people who literally have created their identity around faking culture or who really have no idea of what their culture is or what their roots are or what even they come from, how do y'all not ask yourself a question? Whomever you learn from. This is why the truth is so uncomfortable for people. And they need that trigger. Again, going back to the deep aspect of, again, me growing up knowing how, what I've experienced, I've been realizing like a lot of what I developed, or even when I was experienced, has a lot to do with trying to find a sense of belonging in the world, in life, in family. Oh, it gets tough when you're in a relationship for some. Especially as you start to realize if it was performative, because then your belonging or your sense of feeling like you belong there starts to fade. You start to realize, like, what have I been doing Then that uncomfortability, as you shift, as you start to realize you come more deeper into yourself, then you realize for some how unequally yoked you can be with someone else. How spiritually inequipped they are, unequipped, whatever you call it. Or how, they're not in tune with who they really are. And it goes back to the inner child aspect. A lot of people's careers, a lot of what they've been chasing, a lot of their seeking validation comes from a sense of trying to feel like they belong somewhere. I mean, look at how people have come into what they call riches, their careers, their structures, forcefully, just to tell other people that they don't belong somewhere. Just to tell this person what you're doing around here. You don't belong here. Now imagine on all levels, as we see now the tables turning, how bothered people could be by people being, what do they call it, deported or removed, but can't see the upside to a lot of things being divine intervention. How does people get their opportunity to really build on something if everything that, being that their ancestors were, and not only the ones who created things, but how is it, for some you ask, how is it that so many people can come and want to come to a place and want to exile the very people who are indigenous to the land? How? And then this is why I feel like so many people, when they do have pushback or get angry or speak their truth, there's so much bullshit around the fact of, you're going to convince me that I don't belong here, that my teachings or that what's been in my DNA, what's within me all along, you're going to try to tell me? I imagine if I told you to go back where you came from, where your ancestors originally from, then maybe when you think about safety, when you think about genetically or emotionally, mentally, and on the safety level, which is organically happening right now, for a lot of these things to be restored, there's gonna have to be an exile. Y'all don't have to accept it. A lot of people want to have issues, repress and suppress the emotions around what has happened to not only them generationally, but their ancestors. Going back to security and belonging. The only pushback you see from certain people is the people who try to convince other people that they belong here just as much as someone else. There's so much things that, if you want to call it reversing, or things that are being lifted so that people can come, it's going to be very uncomfortable for a lot of y'all to realize that, for one, royal bloodlines that were here and still are here, a lot of different nationalities that run through a lot of people and that are indigenous here from other countries. Because this has been happening for so long. Everyone wants to come here. Everyone wants to be here type shit. But how are we going to be the ones be told to be pushed out? Because when it goes back to a sense of belonging, let me go get me some tissue. So yeah. Okay, we go. So yeah, this belonging thing, feeling a sense of safety. When you, it's just it's the color don't make you kin type thing. But there is an exile, there is an exodus taking place, and it's already happened spiritually. It's just playing out physically, and where else was I getting at? When I think about a sense of belonging being birthed into something where I'm being told that this is my ancestry. This is where you come from, and then so much being kept away to keep me from knowing that, to keep things that were at a point in time were secrets now being exposed. How the fuck can y'all expect people not to have an uncomfortable feeling around that? That which was hidden can no longer be hidden. That's called repressed. That's what's been suppressed in people. Don't ever come to me and tell me as a man, or especially what I've known, what has happened, not to feel some type of anger or frustration. I gotta be real and raw about a lot of shit. The 36 years that I've been here, if I looked at the fact of how people and who has made what type of specific man or individual felt like he belonged no matter what he did, it wouldn't be a man that looked like me. But now the world gets to see its reflection. Now y'all get to see exactly what's been fueling and enabling a lot of shit. And you won't be able to run from it. You won't be able to run from the shit. That's the funny part about it. And that goes for everybody. No one's exempt. Because I myself, I wouldn't bring up these things if I could run from it. The only difference, because I'm no different, I'm no more or less valuable than a man of a different shade, especially a lighter shade than what we've been seeing going on. What I'm saying internally is I could react similarly. But what is going to be, see, when you build a false, and this goes back to emotions, how the power and how if you don't know how to control or manage your emotions, they will manage you. This is where you see violence so prominent. This is why you see certain behaviors around mental health, why people react, because again, nothing can be hidden no more. It's going to be clear to see who has developed an identity around lies and deception and confusion and so forth. And the reason I'm able to sit back comfortably, peacefully, is because if there's any fucking man, especially a man that's in tune, that's dark, that's indigenous, if there's any man that has known what has happened and sit back and watch, and this is the thing about being an observer, that battle is not mine. There are certain people that know that your solutions are not going to come through me. Your solutions, if I'm called to do certain things, But a lot of things that has nothing to do with me, it's not my battle. It's not my battle because I feel the biggest issue is that for trying to fight for a sense of identity, to try to fight for a sense of belonging. Let me tell you, to a lot of you men who know what I'm going through or can relate, especially darker men and other men that can relate to. But what I mean, the climate of men that are darker in certain demographics, it ain't even about standing your ground. The best option is to realize that you don't have, it was never about running a race. There's a human race. It was never about running a race. This was all about getting to know you, knowing you. And once you do that, you'll realize in knowing you, you know what not to put your fucking self in, what to subscribe to, what to be a part of. That's why I feel like has been a detriment to even people trying to create narratives around wanting to use someone. As another example of, well, look at him. Look at what he did. Hey, hi. Listen, what they say, out of sight, out of mind. I made another video speaking about this topic of how certain battles are won. Certain battles are won certain battles are won without fighting, and you just revoke access. The reason why this is so prominent, how I connected to belonging, is that it's not my battle to convince and prove to nobody that I belong here in the fucking country that my ancestors created and built alongside people of different shades. It's not my battle to convince when I know that people know what has happened. Now is where you put your energy towards more finding solutions and shifting your mindset of out of a lot of shit that was a victim mentality. Because I'm not a victim of none of that shit, especially if my ancestors have made it through a lot of things. I know personally what a lot of what has happened in navigating through. So I'm not going to put myself in an uncompromising position. For what? For what? That's what protects me. And the revoking the access to me is what protects me. You have to realize that's how a lot of things, again, what the divine was revealing to me is that these emotions are going to come up. And it's natural for you to feel it through this shift because you're seeing an old world crumble. And that's what y'all got to realize, that a lot of people's sense of belonging, their identity, this Neptune and Aries transit is centered around identity, self-identity, and other aspects. So a lot of people aren't going to know how to move forward. Because imagine finding out the truth about who you are to the core, because that's what gets revealed to us. Who you are to the core, and then you having to change your mindset and your approach. That's the only way your lineage will progress. Now, the illusion that's been cast is that the powers that used to be, or how people were positioned, will have you believing they're all that is when it comes to a hierarchy. Bullshit. That's why the divine has stepped in to make sure everything will shatter and crumble at the hands of the very people who, again, their values haven't changed. See, as your awareness, consciously, collective consciousness, whatever you want to say, your awareness kicks in, self-awareness, and also your value changes. See, belonging to people could be someone who cares about money more than their own character development or integrity because they feel a sense of belonging, peer pressured into believing, oh, you got to be the next this, you got to have this, you got to be, to find a sense of belonging, groups, fraternities. I'm just giving shit up. All of these different things that people want to be a part of. Belonging. And y'all gonna realize how empty or how a lot of people who have not developed anything within themselves, they're gonna be like this. Fish out of water. Seeking, searching. Looking for clout, as they say. See, that's the beauty of belonging being rooted to emotional intelligence or, learning more emotionally about who you are ancestrally and generationally. You see, one thing I don't ever have to do is question who I am. That's the important about doing the work, doing the shadow work, facing yourself, seeing the patterns, learn behavior patterns, and so forth. Because guess what? You learn a belief system of where you feel you should belong, especially if I'm told as a darker man, well, you belong over here, boy. You do this. In this world, everyone world is different. You got people in the climate of society and all like that. Oh, but he belongs here. You belong here. You just all this control, all this manipulation. And as this shit collapses within on itself, when you see certain leaders transition, when you see certain people transition, certain things start happening, their energy goes with the shit. Y'all don't realize there's an energy. When I say energy shift, that means people who upheld racism, self-hatred, people behind the scenes who were like Monopoly, controlling all these. Listen, there's a shift. There's a shift. Divine intervention. The beauty of a lot of these things coming up and out during this golden age, during this age of exposure, whatever you want to call it, is for you to find a sense of safety again, belonging in this world that at a time when you were young did not make sense to you. You're talking about our mothers being displaced, fathers being put in place, all these different things. Gangs, groups, communities, all of this shit is rooted in belonging somewhere. And it's literally just like little children in adult bodies. I want to feel like I belong here. I mean, in all honesty, when I was walking here, I saw a lady on the corner, because I don't know if she was a prostitute, but most likely I knew she was on drugs. Who do you think she's going to hang around to feel a sense of belonging? She's not going to naturally want to be around someone who's trying to tell her to get her life together and so forth. There's no judgment. It's just a fact of like, in order for her to feel a sense of belonging somewhere, she goes where that's what happens. And that's why a lot of people have been tricked in believing to have this, when you have your childhood wounds preyed upon, and you have low self-esteem, and you don't have confidence, and all these things have affected you, you develop a mindset and a belief system. And then now you go out there trying to feel where you belong, who you belong with. And it's very challenging for people who are, introverted, empaths, whatever you want to call it. We go through those different phases, whether it's trying to be a part of something, because we long for that belonging. We long to be somewhere, to feel a sense of, when you look at the root of it, is a sense of safety, emotional safety, security, balance. And it's tough during this transition where so many things are changing, to where you look at the housing market, you look at communities. Those people built that shit for a sense of belonging, for a sense of emotional safety, for a sense of physical safety. And a lot of it was rooted in insecurity. Because a lot of, and when I say it was rooted in fear, it wasn't secure. It wasn't safe. Living in fear is not safe. Because you're paranoid. You're looking over your shoulder, or you're worrying about if a darker person coming to your community. Shit, it's the same thing for a darker person. You wonder if the police gonna get behind you. Let alone you date someone else differently. Your fear is your mama or somebody saying something wild. Because you want to feel a sense of belonging. That's why it can be tough for people. You know, the mother of my children never said it. But when you see how those who, like, how deep racism goes, or self-hatred, bro. I visited her family. And when you want to talk about being the only darker person there at that moment. But what I realized I was illuminating, and what I already knew about, is where I went to, Upper Michigan and shit. Whenever I'm going places, I'm learning. I'm looking at names. I'm like, hold on, indigenous people used to live here too? Like darker people? Yeah. But you never hear people that are lighter come out and say that their people migrated here. But then judge immigrants, or people they call immigrants. How are you quick to judge them? When a lot of you don't even research and learn how people, at a point in time when you look at what they call Mexico, a lot of this shit at a point in time was connected. And a lot of these people were intertwining or together. They were supporting people who were imported that y'all call slaves. Y'all gotta realize all this shit has been a melting pot. This person came along, this leader taught this person that. Trickled down, and this person got what y'all call overthrown. This person came to teach this person. Cycles. So being up there, yeah, I could feel out of place. But what was familiar to me was I knew that I felt I belonged, even if, a part of me just always felt I belonged amongst anybody. I can vibe amongst anybody. Because that security, that safety, that belonging starts within you, not with nobody else. See, that's the psychological warfare. See, that shit comes up for people when they're out of their element. That's what exposes their deep insecurities, their subconscious fears, their cognitive distances. How do you say this? You know what the fuck I'm trying to say. And that's what comes up for a lot of people, especially people that are lighter. And I don't mean just Caucasian people, because they're not, lighter shade people of all cultures are not exempt. Because I told you, I've dated someone who was Filipino. And when she went home, she got verbally abused and so forth by darker Filipinos. Y'all don't realize this shit has been within. The self-hatred, racism is within all cultures, bro. All people in humanity. That's the dis-ease and discomfort. That's what's keeping y'all from living amongst each other. And then the thing is that when people don't have the ability to heal and accept, because they're only going to keep looping through the shit. I don't care who your grandma is. I don't give a fuck what they built. They're only going to keep looping through the same shit. And you are too, when you don't care to acknowledge it within yourself. And then that's keeping you from preventing to connect to other people. Because it was never intended that way. Divine intervention, once you get the insight, you will see how deeper and how connected we've always been, through tribes, through nations, through queendoms, kingdoms, chiefdoms, all this shit, bloodlines, all of this shit. All of it. Y'all going to look for people that you think they're supposed to look like something on a fucking rock or somebody. Why? What makes you think we aren't those same people? We have our hair the same fucking way. Y'all keep pointing to a certain particular person or people, and y'all don't realize a lot of these original families were indigenous people. They were darker shades. Or different shades. Different hues. You know what the fear? Let me tell you something. I'm going to drop something on you right here. There ain't just people of lighter shade. Y'all got this shit so twisted. Y'all think it's just people of lighter shade that don't want people to know who they are. There are people that are darker that do not want certain indigenous Americans or people that are indigenous to Americas to find out their lineage and their bloodline and how it is royalty. Y'all have no idea what has already returned. Y'all want to believe that royal shit is across the seas and how they dress and so forth. What land have they been graping the whole time? Why y'all been coming over here so much? Why y'all ancestors come over here? Y'all got to realize that they'll make you believe some type of motherland somewhere else. Come on, man. It ain't even about being the motherland. It's about how I notice people that are from different countries. They'll never come out and tell you that how is it that people, and they do it all the time for a sense of belonging, and listen, I know people from other countries. They embody their culture, but how is it some of them copying so much of what people in the so-called America, if it's so hated so much, why are so many people so obsessed with our way of life? I tell you why. Because everywhere around the world has a connection to this land. And that's why people here, that's why they called it the promised land. That's why a lot of people of a lighter shade start to realize, like, you migrated here. A lot of people migrated here. And a lot of how we show up and present ourselves, it's like so many different aspects to us within our DNA structure. You got people, I got people I know in New Orleans, they'll look at a lighter shade person here and be like, man, she look just like a lady that's Creole. And you got all these different titles, and y'all, only thing you're doing, you're looking at different incarnations, or if you want to call it reincarnations, or basically DNA structures of the same fucking people. There's nothing that can make me hate nothing about myself. How I present myself. How I love myself. How I know I have indigenous roots to so many different countries, or my ancestors have roots to different countries, different places. If I'm looking at my great-grandmother's name, my father, what? And it's so funny because my tattoo, I have symbolism everywhere. It's symbolism. For me to try to forget about here, what? I wanted to. See, that's the trick. It's like they want people to feel like they don't belong somewhere, but your roots go so deep in this fucking place. And a lot of you, again, you're gonna be called to travel and relocate because that comes with your sovereignty. You reclaiming your sovereignty. The word sovereign and reign had your birthright, your sovereignty. It's already here. That's why certain people are coming to eliminate certain shit, because a lot of that structures were a part of generational curses. A lot of that stuff was a part of illusions. A lot of y'all are supposed to go across waters. And it's like that's a reverse of a curse from where your ancestors who were shipped certain places, migrated, immigrant, whatever you want to call it, and never returned to their fucking homeland. Let's talk about it. So where do you really belong? Where do you really belong? My father name, surname, last name, German. Mothers, indigenous to this land, of course. Great-grandmothers, Anglo-Saxon. I always tell y'all, house of names. Start looking up shit. You are here to remember, to recall, to own that shit, to embrace it. That doesn't mean everyone did great things, like people were so good and so forth. Man, the more you start to really look at stuff, I talked to someone the other day that was from another place. And you know, we have this mindset of just believing that, oh my gosh, how people want to say all people that came from look like me or darker or something came from some type of what do they call it? As you start to learn more about a lot of that shit happened here. What do you call it? I always tell people look into Camp Sutton, Sutton. I don't see, this shit blew my mind. I don't see, what I know now is they call it a rock quarry where I grew up at, where you can, and I'm like, how the fuck did this just end up here? I'm starting to realize a lot of these places, if there was a campground at a point in time, military, then they have pictures inside of, you don't know what Bojangles is. Bojangles is like a restaurant. And y'all got to realize a lot of these structures that were built are a part of the people who immigrated here. That's why I used to wonder, like, wow, all these people, you know, they're connecting back to their roots, because on these walls are soldiers or military people migrating, or with indigenous people here. And when I saw that shit from going in there so many times and start to say, like, a lot of this shit just evolved. It went from the guns and all this other stuff, but you always had people who had love stories. You always had people who, the reason why that, like, I see so much of the attack on people who are dating people of different cultures and creeds, or if you want to call it interracial, I see the depths of why that bothered people so much. Because whatever repressed in them, and it's not just about, because people quick to say oppressor, or quick to say, bring up slavery, and then don't know everyone's backstory isn't that. Especially people like I know in the North and South Carolina, a lot of people, every person that was darker was not held in captivity, bro. Y'all had people that were different shades fighting against each other. At a point in time, you gotta realize people sold each other out. People got greedy, sided with this person, making allies. This has always been happening. That black and white shit is so, it's not even, that doesn't even scratch the surface. You have people that were of different shades, come from so many different countries when it came to them coming into the ports, or coming into these parts of what y'all know, like South Carolina and all these other things, and where people now, you see them now it's so prominent now. That's why I'm so grateful for the importance of social media. Y'all don't realize the importance of a lot of this shit is vital. This shit is enlightening at the same time triggering, because so many things are happening so fast to where everyone's not going to be happy with the fact of what they're going to find out. You know how much it bothered me and angered me to know that I had roots, connected to Germany? What? I was finding out that shit, for y'all that do know me from home and shit. Bro, I was in Albemarle. And I was in a library. I used to always get called to libraries, and I'm in there looking at my last name. Man, what the fuck? Cause see, for some of y'all surname or what they call last names, man, everybody want to proclaim to be royal. It's bigger than that. Because some of y'all could have been from Carolina, migrated with someone in Alabama. And y'all don't realize, like, a lot of these tribes at a point in time did get along. Some of them didn't. And so you gotta realize that's the thing that has continued. Some of y'all don't realize you could have had a fling, you could have connected with someone whole time. You don't even realize that generations ago, they was not getting along. It's spiritual, it's ancestral, it's repressed, it's suppressed. Y'all don't know how deep stuff go to where you are connecting to like conflict resolution, to find a solution, find a common ground. When you look at the last history of what has happened in the last 200, 300 years of this place, it's only been brushed up under the rug. There has been no conflict resolution. And the only solution I mentioned before is that there are certain things people have to find a solution within themselves and for their extended family. Just as there are bigger fish to fry when it comes to people such as myself, that a lot of y'all realize as you come into your awareness, you're going to start to see past the veil and the illusion of really seeing people for who they are. And it's not even just that. It's the fact of how a lot of people don't have knowledge. You thought we was the ones exempt. Oh my gosh. People that don't look like us as lighter in this country, a lot of them, especially in the poverty below what they call poverty level, they have no idea. Because they think, and I'm gonna use the term whiteness, there is like when people subscribe to that, like using whiteness, for a lot of us subconsciously, the first thing that comes up is violence, theft, taker, rapists, things like that. That's psychological. Just as things come up from people like that with them. Not all, but. And when people don't have knowledge or awareness of belonging, they'll convince themselves and try to build an identity around that shit. That's how people have built an identity around violence. And truly, this sister said this. She said whiteness is connected to violence and homelessness. And the reason that is so vital is because when you're talking about a people migrated to a place and then learn from other people to build their infrastructure, to build on that, how dare you turn the cheek or turn away from that which the hand that fed you? How dare you bite the hand that feeds you? Y'all don't realize the shift in power? And it ain't just majority of them. I'm talking about how dare you? That's why I not read between the lines. I see beyond when a certain person saying make something great again, or certain little trickster like spirit type shit, or certain things, because y'all gotta realize, bro, a lot of y'all are the ones when it comes to new leadership or certain things. And guess who they have to come to? You. They can't go nowhere else. That's what the shifting power is. They can't go nowhere else for the answers. And the reason I said it's not about a superior thing, it's about when you look at the origins of who began things and through the cycles of that, that goes back to the fact of how leadership has always shifted amongst people of different shade. But what it originated with, again, that's why I always bring up the importance of the matriarchal, getting back to a sense of what woman has been attacked the most to not feel a sense of belonging. When her safety is threatened, when she don't feel a sense of belonging in the fucking land, in the housing, in the work, it's beyond the delusion of workspace and all like that, the monetary shit. Y'all gotta realize, bro, what's coming down the pipeline. And days are over with. The divine mother, the inner source, not going for that. The Most High not going for that shit no more. It's deep. It's on a deeper level now. Because as the truth or the uncomfortability of what people can't sit with anymore, and it starts to come out, people get a sense of confidence and surety again. That uncomfortability of them, you telling me that I come from this, you telling me that they've been keeping this away. How the fuck are y'all not expect people to have anger and frustration around that? What's been kept from them? What? You try to convince me of this religious person. You trying to tell me that this person was that gave us this title and all. Man, the veil is being lifted. The war is already won. Because there's certain of us that in that acceptance, in that belonging, who the fuck are you to tell me where I'm going to do and where I'm going to go and how I'm going to do things? Who are you? Your reign of terror is over. Think about people who have upheld self-hatred and racism so much, and now they're burning themselves out, trying to stay afloat because that's what they built it on. Where do you think they're gonna need support? In their breaking down of their body, of their mental and emotional state? What do you think they're gonna call for? Not fucking Ghostbusters. Sometimes you just gotta sit back and eat the popcorn. Sometimes you just gotta chill. Let that shit play out. Let people feel the way they feel when you don't want to jump in and come in and be like, say that, Because I know personally of how I've been used and manipulated and abused to be, to what? To be scapegoated through? Not this dark man, not this indigenous man. Nope. Not worry about no threats, not worry about no nothing. Don't worry about nobody being sent. They done tried everything. That's when you start laughing and you see the desperate attempts. See, the bigger picture is that we all belong here. Y'all just don't know how to live amongst each other. And that's simply because of the vibration and what people have not resolved within them. Y'all make motherfuckers don't want to live with y'all or be amongst y'all. Because y'all not right within. You don't want to get right within. So guess what the divine does? Let me move you away from these folks. Because your mission is bigger than getting caught up in the crossfire or some bullshit as the ambulance go by. Protected, divinely protected. And it's so funny, just today, I was in here, and I believe somebody got unalive. And as I was going back to where I was returning back home, I was just walking through, and I just knew. I could just tell the police was like looking for a gun or something. And I just knew, and I was like, are y'all just so happen looking for a gun? He was like, possibly. I was like, good luck in the snow. He was like, right. This is my thing. I'm gonna leave y'all with this. Stay grounded in your belonging of peace. That shit gonna protect you. Stay grounded in your getting to know you more, because that's gonna protect you and be a safe haven and a covering for not only you but for your kids. And it's funny because, like I said, there's certain things as individuals that you cannot resolve shit for your spouse. And the reason I'm saying this is I know this personally. There's things I'm just keeping a buck with y'all about people that I've dated and so forth. You cannot make them see, make them change, make them heal, make them face things and so forth. As much as they try to continue to ignore it, they're only going to loop through it. Right now, it's so vital. People are only going to loop through the same shit, and it's going to be so obvious. It's not even advice. It's not, I'm just a message. You can take it or leave it, whatever. That's one of the best things you can ever do in these moments is to get to know yourself. And if the divine is presenting that for you, like telling you, like, listen, your car fucked up for a reason. Sit down. It's something I might want to reveal to you. Your health or certain things, divine intervention. That job, divine intervention. So many things we have to learn to realize, like, it's divine intervention. Divine intervention. And if someone try to tell you otherwise, move around. Because that's just something that wants to possibly keep you where you were familiar with. Divine intervention. Counter it. We didn't come from a mindset of countering folk. Let me tell you something. The mindset I used to think about the worst possibilities. And I start to manifest or create the best possibilities, guess what? I will not be living or around or surrounded, or even if I'm surrounded in an area about something, I'm grounded. And none of that shit can touch me. There was a point in time where you can I was walking in the middle of the street because the sidewalks were full of snow. And being that, had that been somebody else, their mindset would be focused on, the paranoia, the fear around even being in the proximity of a police with a gun. Y'all don't realize a lot of that shit was built on fear. People fear of losing their life, but you in a field of what? You're in a career that can happen to you anytime. So just imagine people in that, not all of them, but in that, and it's rooted in fear. So guess what's going to end up happening? Their first instinct is to protect themselves. Their first instinct is to make sure they go home to their family. Divine intervention. I told y'all before, when people start to return to that truth within themselves and come back home, none of this shit don't matter. None of this who that and this and that and what's going on, all this fear-mongering shit, all this shit, none of that shit gonna matter. To who? I don't care what's going on over there. I'm presently living my life. You have to be so focused on what you're doing and moving towards that bliss, that joy, that love within yourself. That you don't care what's happening outside of you. It has to be a balance. You can care, but it don't not to where get you out of your element. That's what makes a lot of people dangerous in these moments, or a threat. But you just divine intervention. Like I said, they don't try everything. So, like I said, that was one of the biggest challenges for me growing up, is that I had to regain and recover that sense of belonging. And feeling like the most unappreciated, undervalued, dehumanized man as an indigenous man, it's like, you can't make people care. It's very challenging when you have to really accept that they don't have to. I have to care. I have to love me. I have to learn to come back home to feel a sense of belonging. That's what's gonna make me like what they say. You become more magnetic, or what's the word? I'm gonna say magnetizing, because to some people you look like a hero trying to jump in. To other people you look like a villain. Notice that. So when people come looking for me to try to be a hero, no, I choose to be the villain. Because y'all exile the villain and don't realize, like, when you look at movies, when you look at a lot of shit, the villain was very important. All characters were important. The villain kept it a buck, 100. Shadow aspect of who we all are. When you look at hero and the villain, we all got it. Feminine, masculine. Yep. And that's why I said the only ones that will keep looping through shit is the ones who refuse to see the villain within them. To refuse to see that they have parts of themselves too that is fucked up, or they have to get right within. Now, how does that make sense if you have built the world around so much fake shit to make it seem like this person is right no matter what they do, this and this and this, and now y'all get into a place like, oh shit, this goofy motherfucker, or this and this, quick to look outside and blame somebody and still refuse to look at yourself, because either way, when you don't have the ability to do that, you still gonna loop through the same, you still gonna be looking for somebody, rather than yourself. And balance that out with other people. So for me, it's like, yeah, I'm learning that very valuable lesson now, even with coming back home to myself. I don't even feel like I belong with certain people, be around them. That's what happens when you shift. Where you felt familiar and secure, you like, I don't even belong here. I know a lot of y'all can relate to that. Relationships, partnerships, marriages, it's like, this person, it goes back to like, when you come home, then you will want that in your dynamics. You will want that feeling of, this person feels like home. I don't have to question that. And that's because they met themselves on a deeper level. And that's just alignment. But, when you have a word that has convinced you to go home physically to someone you don't feel at home with, because you're talking about emotional safety, because we got so caught up in physical safety, but never emotional security, which when you look at what women are, women are ruled by, now, those who are in tune, is they stress the fact of emotional safety, more importantly. But they forget about men also desire that too. Mental clarity, emotional safety and security, and so forth. So when you have convinced people to just live in a world without the importance of emotional safety, y'all all been faking. You all fake. Y'all fake like a motherfucker. Let's be real. A lot of us ain't really know what it is to come home and be authentic until now. I don't care how you dress it up. I don't care. who you is, what you have. It's just what it is. When you see society and the whole humanity as a collective, what we all been coming out of, what we have to face personally, fake it till you make it. You ain't make shit but something fake. And now the world get to see it on display. Yep. Fake it till you make. Fake what? Make what? I've already made it. Made it to a place within myself to realize whatever I do, I prosper regardless. And that ain't got shit to do with finances. I prosper everywhere I go. I plant seeds. My fruit prosper everywhere I go. I can reflect and look at what I've done. That's the beauty of integrity and authenticity. I can reflect and see the seeds. I also can reflect and see the seeds that did not bear the best fruit. I'm not ashamed and guilty of that. But that's the rawness of knowing, like, the deeper I get to know myself, the deeper my roots, the deeper I know I belong somewhere. Then I get to take that fruit or get those seeds and plant it wherever I feel. So a lot of y'all, when y'all look at the fact of what have your ancestors, what have your mom and dad and people been planting, that shit real. I didn't want to see the uncomfortability in the people who have really grew up oblivious to their families being, whether they was racist or whether they masked themselves behind it. I mean, how long y'all thought that was going to go on? You have it amongst darker people too. They hate, some of them dislike themselves so much too, that they'll subscribe to a narrative of people that are lighter just to create a false identity around empowerment. To put your homeboy down or sit down because you got this promotion or because you did this and did that. That's beyond me. So there's so many ways to look at it. And that, I don't want sports too, all that shit, man, all that shit. I was sitting there reflecting on that. I was like, them motherfuckers, it's a script. It's a stage. When you start to recognize, like, who really pulling the strings? Then when you recognize how deep it goes, greed, money, self-righteousness, all in the name of who? Man, fuck out of here. People don't gain all these resources through abuse of power, and now they claim they powerful. What Bob Marley say? Some people so broke that all they have is money. A lot of y'all you ain't met yourself deep. You ain't got no type of knowledge to share. No type of nothing to drop to the gems. To drop gems to the youth. Only thing you can do is perform, bitch. I had to say that. It just came out. I know y'all watching. Bitch, only thing you can do is perform. Bitch, you performing. You fake. You don't give a fuck about yourself or the youth. So miss me with that bullshit. Don't even come over here. Like you finna clout chase. I told y'all, a lot of folks are gonna be brought down to grace. See, as we reconnect to our inner child and feel like that inner child, that essence is connecting us to a sense of belonging within. That's what we lost sight of. Our women, our mothers, ourselves. And then we got convinced that we gotta feel a sense of belonging or acceptance that we're a part of shit. When we all are a part of the grand scheme of things. You strip, man, as these titles get stripped from people, as money start to be removed, as certain things, foundations crumble, y'all going to see exposed that people don't, their identity was built around that shit. It's just like what they call a narcissist or somebody who's an abuser. Their identity is built around it. They don't know nothing else. Gang culture. And I don't mean just gangs that y'all know. All that shit was created. All that stuff is a part of stuff that's just hidden. Beyond the fact of that's just, the other gangs. Like what? Watch the movie. Y'all about to see something you never witnessed. Like, man, this shit is so inspiring to see shit crumble just to be recreated and reinvented or just innovated. Oh my gosh, y'all have no idea that people are alchemists, meaning that they're going to use that shit that was used against them. And create from that music, arts, writings. There ain't nothing that can touch it. There's nothing that can duplicate it. They can only sit back and watch as what they created and what they use and so forth. It served its purpose. It's not to downplay it. Everybody served their purpose. Everybody came in energetically at what they were supposed to come in. And whether they choose to evolve or so forth, that's on them. It serves its purpose. Gratitude. Bravo. Bravo to the powers that used to be. Bravo. Gratitude. I give gratitude because when you get to a place of going through the emotions, you give gratitude for the lessons, the awareness, and then be able to transmute it and move forward. What has kept people stuck is realizing that they're supposed to suppress that shit, or men repress it, and then women not realizing the importance of how you alchemize that shit through what you're going through. You do it naturally. Sometimes when you be crying and going through stuff, and then all of a sudden you tell yourself, I've had enough, and boom, like magic. But imagine you did that towards your own, using your own creativity, your own individualism, all that shit you've been sitting on. All the emotions are just another gateway to your creativity, to you creating your own whatever it is. I dare you to do it. I believe, I trust you. I know you can do it. I'm living proof. Peace and blessings. Shalom.